And welcome. I'm a little bit early, about a minute early, so hopefully, oh, there are people here. I can see people. I mean, I can't see you, but I can see people. Okay, so welcome to Summer Food for Radiant Skin, our third episode of Let's Get Cooking at Your House. And I'm Lorene Sorrow. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, and I specialize in gut health. And with me tonight is Melanie Karnakia. She's also a registered holistic nutritionist. And it is her specialty to work with skin. So welcome, Melanie. And why don't you tell them a little bit about how you got into this and what you're currently doing?
Thank you. Yeah, so I got into nutrition because I was experiencing different symptoms and I was very curious as what was going on. I had digestion issues as well. I have different bowel issues, sometimes constipation as well. I had Tina versicolor, it's a skin condition, and I was actually quite amazed that went away. So I was like, wow, this is really cool. As well, I had an issue with my finger. It went away, but then I came back about a year later and I was like, oh my gosh, why is this back again? I didn't know what caused it. So I didn't want that to happen again because it got puffy and really itchy. And through that, I decided, like, I eat pretty well, but yeah, I just needed to focus on my health and whole food. And I was like, you know what, I'm having my own issues here with skin. I want to help other people with that and digestion as well. So yeah, that's my primary focus is nourishing the skin.
Well, I think that's how a lot of us got involved with this particular profession. And it's always nice to hear when people resolve things they didn't expect to resolve. It's one of the nice benefits of being in this profession and learning about what food can do and what other things can do. So what we're going to do tonight is talk about how foods have a wide variety of nutrients in them that are beneficial for the skin. We're going to start with the basics. So Melanie's going to chat briefly about the vitamins, minerals, and EFAs. And then I'm going to talk about the phytonutrients, which are really kind of fascinating. And then we'll get into demonstrating the 3 recipes we have for you tonight. So Melanie, tell us about the basics that most people would understand about nutrients in food and how they help the skin.
So essential fatty acids, or EFAs, they're very important. They're vital for skin tissue health, and we need to get this through our food. And also as well, vitamin A, it's important for the skin. It helps protect cells against free radical damage. And it as well, it's tissue rebuilding, it's great for skin health and new cell growth. Vitamin C is required for tissue growth and repair. And vitamin E, it's improved circulation is also needed for the tissues. And the vitamin E is great for skin, hair, and your eyes. All these vitamins are great for everything else besides skin, but the vitamin A, C, and E, they've usually been considered as antioxidants, but they are a phytonutrient or a phytochemical. Again, Lorraine will talk about that later. And one of the minerals I want to talk about is zinc. This one's important for protein synthesis as well as collagen formation. And it's for the immune system as well as wound healing. And zinc is actually important for our taste and our smell.
So I know you also have a gut connection with skin that you've looked at. What is your, I guess, I mean, I know you can't go into too much because we don't have obviously the time, but if I was going to say, you know, a simple snapshot of the role of the gut with regard to skin, what would you say?
Yeah, so it's very important that we need to absorb our minerals and vitamins. And if our gut health isn't optimal, then it doesn't show, like, it shows in our skin, basically.
Well, I think that's a very important concept because I think when most people think of skin issues, they think of immediately going for something topical, right?
Yes.
And I think what we're trying to convey, and I know that most of my fellow holistic nutritionists and health coach fellow professionals would all agree. Yes, Carol, you can hear Peanut meowing. Peanut came to watch the show, Melanie, just so you know.
Yes, I hear.
He's been so good for the last 2 episodes. But anyway, so one of the things that we would like to convey is the idea that the skin issue didn't come because something landed on you or something like that. It is a manifestation of something coming out of you. So it's a malfunction of something going on in the system, and everything feeds, the system starts in the gut, right? So you've got your beneficial bacteria, the nutrient absorption, as Melanie said. And so what we're really talking about today is, yes, you can use different products and things for topical if it works for you or if that's what you want to do. But what we really want to convey is that the overall picture, you know, for long-term beautiful skin, you want to feed the inside because that will stop whatever health issue you're having, because that's where it started. So this is why gut health is very important, why the nutrients that Melanie mentioned are very important. And these are commonly talked about, I believe, if you were to look about on different articles and things about skin. But what I want to talk to you about is the phytonutrients. And I'm going to pull something, I've never done this before, so we'll see if this works. I'm going to pull up the screen. I'm leery because I have to go back into Zoom, and the last time I did it, I didn't get back into YouTube. But anyway, and I'm going to go to screen share, and I'm going to pull up this lovely screen. Okay. So I'm hoping that you can see that screen. And then I go back here. Do you see that screen?
I see it here on my end. So.
I know, but do they see it on their end?
Hopefully.
So I'm hoping you see the screen that I just pulled up. So what we're talking, oh, here it comes. See, there's this delay. There we go. There it is. So what we're talking about here are phytonutrients and different chemicals that are found in food that they've studied for skin. And this is why the whole food aspect of everything is so important. So a lot of times when they study chemicals like this, it is their intention at some point to pull them out, stick them into some kind of product. And what we're trying to suggest here is, no, leave them in the food. Eat more of the foods that have it in them. And you're going to get the vitamins and minerals and EFAs that Melanie talked about. And you're going to get all of these phytochemicals. And what we've tried to do tonight with the recipes we're showing is incorporate a bunch of the foods that have the various phytonutrients you see on your screen right there. And so if I'm going to look at them very quickly, you can see you have apigenin, and you can see the various foods that it's in, camphorol, quercetin, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, coumarin, and carotenoids, which are also probably something you've heard of, and I'm sure you can figure out that carotenoids are in carrots. So basically, what we're trying to say here is that if you look at the list of foods, and by the way, if you want this list, you just need to go to the link in the description, and that'll take you to the website page that has all the recipes. It has this particular document, and it also has references for some of these things and some of the other things that we've been talking about or will be talking about. So you don't need to worry about writing that down or anything like that. You can just go download it. So what we're talking about here is that we're going to build better recipes. And in this case, we're doing it for skin. So we're picking ingredients that are the right or the best, or at least have some of the benefits that we would try to have with skin. He will stop soon, I promise. And it's just his little nightly howl after he's had his dinner. Anyway, so this is what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to start with Melanie doing the first recipe, which is a salad that she's constructed using a lot of these ingredients. So I'm just going to come out of screen share here. And we're going to do something new. You should now see Melanie full screen. Woohoo! So we thought that this will give you a better view of what's going on in the kitchen if we flip back and forth. So it's going to flip back and forth whenever we speak.
All right. So this salad here is basically just some mixed greens. So I have romaine. You can always use some spinach or other types of greens. I found it at the farmer's market. So it's also great in the summertime, especially to go to the farmer's market if you want to get different produce that's out this time of year. I decided to get a cute little mini cucumber. So I wanted to kind of show you it there. And I'm going to slice this up, put it in the salad. It's kind of up to you what you want to put in your salad, whatever you're feeling like that day. I like cucumber. It smells wonderful. I love the smell of cucumber. And then I also have some carrots as well. So carrots have vitamin A as well. Vitamin A is also in spinach and other leafy greens. So I have my carrots here. I decided to go with orange sweet pepper. The pepper is vitamin C.
It would also have carotenoids in it too. Any of the yellows, yes, reds, oranges have the carotenoid family in it.
Yes. So ideally, maybe you want a salad with some red in it. So I could have done a red sweet pepper or even a tomato, but again, whatever you feel like. And then, oh yeah, hemp seeds. Yeah, so your protein can be hard-boiled eggs, it can be salmon or chicken, hemp seeds, legumes. I'm going to use some hemp seeds. And the dressing, this batch that I made, I actually put more basil in it. So it's very green. I love the smell of it. The lemon with the basil, so good. I'm not going to put it on because I don't want to get it all wet, but that's the dressing there. Salad. And if you want, you can always put in sunflower seeds, walnuts, and those have vitamin E in it. You can always put some fresh fruit as well if you feel like any fresh fruit. So have fun with it. Do whatever you want with your salad. And zinc, sunflower seeds have zinc in it, and legumes. Pumpkin seeds also have zinc in it as well. Everything, lots of things have vitamin C for sure. Yeah, the lemon has the vitamin C in it. And the garlic has a little bit of vitamin A and vitamin C. That apigen, did I pronounce that okay? Is the basil. That's basil. Yeah, so as you can see, there's lots of vitamins in this, and enjoy however you like.
Thank you. It looks great. Because we have it on full screen, I can actually see it. So that's really good. Thank you, Melanie. So again, when you want to combine your ingredients, if you look at the list that I created for the different skin nutrients, then you can choose what you want, as Melanie was saying, and you can do the salad any way you like. The point is to try to find combinations that you enjoy, because it just makes it that much better for you. And this is what we're always trying to do, is find better ways to enjoy our food. Okay, so the next recipe we're going to demonstrate, Peanut, is that we're gonna, this is an avocado soup. So we tried to do stuff that was all without an oven because this is summer. So I'm sure people are looking for things that are very easy to do, have ready to go, you know, be able to take them if they're going anywhere, or if they're having people over. I know we're not doing that much socializing and we're not going that many places right now, but it doesn't mean we're not going anywhere. So this was one that I wanted to do because I had come across a study on avocados that showed it was very beneficial for helping to protect from UV radiation. Now, again, when they study these things, they study it topically. This is what they do. They always do this. And what we're saying is, yes, you can do that. You can apply something like it's a specific fatty acid they found in avocado that you can apply it topically and see how that protects you. Or you can understand that it's easier for the protection to occur if it's coming this way and makes its way to the skin versus trying to get the skin to absorb it. Now, the skin does absorb fats well, but it's still not the same process. It's still not creating the building blocks that skin needs when you do it topically. And so what we're suggesting is that when you use these foods, you're getting the building blocks internally, and it's going to be much more effective for the skin. So this soup is super easy. All you have to do, I just need to get that out of the way, and I'm just doing a half recipe. So one of the foods that is really good for the skin, if you want to call it a food, is chamomile tea, technically not a food. And you can use broth in this if you like, but I thought, you know what? Chamomile's really mild. I bet you it would be a lovely liquid to add to this. And chamomile is one of the ones with the phytonutrients in it. So you're just going to put that into a blender. As I said, I'm just doing the half recipe. This would make, for me, a single portion for lunch, or it could be 2 appetizer portions for if you were, serving more than one person for dinner or something like that, and you wanted an appetizer. It would make a great little cool appetizer. And then we're going to add our avocado. I'm sure you all know how to open up avocado. Go around it like that, then you peel that off, and then you get messy because you have to peel this off the avocado. Hopefully your avocado is nice and right, and then you gotta get the pit out and put the rest of it into the container. Take that off. And then I'm adding the juice of 1 lime. And I just love lime. So citrus fruits has the phytonutrients in it, the chamomile, the spinach that I'm about to add, the cilantro that I'm about to add. All right, so then you just put the spinach in, put the cilantro in. I've got a tablespoon of chopped onion here. I'm putting that in. I'm going to add some sea salt, and pay no attention to how many times I shake this, is because there's hardly any comes out. So I have to shake it multiple times before I get the salt in there. And then, sorry, my hands are wet, so this is slippery. Some pepper. Adding half a teaspoon of cumin, which I find really makes it, as does the raw honey. I'm adding about a teaspoon of that. Did I say half a tablespoon or half a teaspoon of cumin? I hope I said a half a teaspoon, because a tablespoon would be a lot.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Half a teaspoon. Pamela's asking, how long would you steep the tea for? Well, I'm a long steeper. I like to steep forever. So minimum 30 minutes, but you can get away with 15. You don't need it hot, so it doesn't really matter, but I usually steep it minimum for 30 minutes, and then I will use it. All right, and then the last and my favorite part, sauerkraut. So remember, we're working on gut health. Many of the ingredients in here are prebiotics, so they help with gut health already. Now we're adding some good bacteria. You could add yogurt if you like. I really like the cabbage in there. It just blends right in. You don't even taste it. It gives a little extra salt, and it gives a little extra acid, which is really nice against the avocado. You could, I haven't tried it yet, add kimchi. This would go perfect with kimchi instead of using the sauerkraut. So it's pretty easy to put all of this together. And then all you have to do, and I have to make noise now, is put the lid on. Give it a good puree. And it's ready to go. Now, you can do this up ahead of time. You can do this the night before if you like and have it ready to go the next day. As you can see, it's nice and thick. And then what I do is I add some, I've got some grated carrots and I have some grated purple carrots. And you could put other things on here that you like as well, doesn't matter. And then I top it with some cashews. And once again, I'll ask the question, why am I adding grated carrots and cashews besides the fact that they're good for the skin? We had a little discussion in the last episode about smoothies. So why am I adding these? What benefit do I have? I could have put those in and just pureed them all up, right? So what is the benefit? We'll see. I know some of you are going to get this right away because you were here last time and you said it last time. So I know you know it this time too. There's always a delay, Melanie. Always, always, always. I wish I could speed that up. We should all write to YouTube. Yes, Carol, chewing. So last week when we talked about different diets for the same household, we talked about why we should add some berries or some nuts or something like that, similar to what they do in the smoothie bowls, is because you really do need to chew your food because of the saliva that gets created, the hormones that are in there, beneficial elements that are in your saliva and in your mouth that are all good for seeding the gut. And so this is another way of doing it. You just top it on there. So I just mix that in, and I might eat this with a piece of sourdough toast for lunch. I actually been doing it for the last week nonstop because I really like it. And it really goes down good. So, try it. It's really delicious. And you can play with the amount of cilantro, the amount of sauerkraut, whatever it is, the lime, to get it right to the palate that, for your palate, the way you like it the best. So everybody got it. Pamela says my voice is fading in and out. Well, that could be me though. That could have been me, Pamela. All right, Melanie, what's our next recipe?
Coconut berry gelato. So I'm doing this in a food processor. So I'm going to half the recipe. I have about a cup of each. So I'm using blueberries, but you guys are welcome to use frozen raspberries or strawberries. Whoops, excuse all the noise. So blueberries have the vitamin C in it and the camphorol. Okay, so this is going to get really loud because it's frozen, so just give me a moment. I like to scrape down the sides, and usually I do it a second time. They didn't puree fully, but that's okay. It smells really good. Okay, and then I'm going to add, whoops. So there's different types of coconut milks out there. There's some with guar gum, and the guar gum is an emulsifier. I have one that doesn't have guar gum, so, I need to mix this, separated the oil and, yeah, so your gelato is going to turn out differently. Depends what type of coconut milk you use. the coconut milk has those essential fatty acids. Wonderful for skin, of course. Then I'm going to add maple syrup. Just going to eye it. And cinnamon. If you don't want to use maple syrup as your sweetener, you're welcome to use honey or maybe even coconut sugar. Cinnamon. Oh, cinnamon. I'm going to eye this one as well. Cinnamon is a phytonutrient. It's the curcumin. It also has vitamin A. It's very pungent. It smells wonderful. You do want to get true cinnamon or Ceylon cinnamon. And cinnamon also is wonderful for stabilizing blood sugar levels. Of course, wonderful for the skin. Okay, one more spin. Can you hear it, Lorraine? Is it really loud?
No, actually, it kind of cuts out.
Oh, okay.
It's like it knows it needs to be quiet.
Yeah.
I can hear you. You don't cut out. It cuts
Okay.
out. I don't know. That's really weird.
And then I'm going to transfer it into a bowl. So then I'm going to whip it to kind of give it some air. And then I like to freeze it in small portions in a glass jar or, oh darn, it fell at the bottom. I thought I was holding the blade. Yummy. Okay. Where's my whisk? Yeah, I was saying you could put it in little glass jars or ice cube tray just to, you want to defrost it in small portions. I did one earlier today. It's still defrosting. I'm going to check that in a bit. Let me just whip that up here. I don't know how long we do this for. Till your arm gets tired.
That's very old school. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I sometimes think about, I got to get my exercise, so work the arms.
You know what? That is a completely valid thing to say. And people don't look at it that way, right? We're so used to our convenient machinery that we don't realize we actually have lost out on some exercise we used to get on a regular basis.
Well, also, too, like the electric mixer can be messy, too, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see how this defrosted. Yeah, it still hasn't totally defrosted. It might not look the prettiest, but it tastes pretty good. Can you see that okay? Yeah.
Now, can you move the processor bowl and put it where the processor bowl is? Because we can't see it. Oh, there we are. Now we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of, let me put it in a bowl. It's ice mixture. Hard to see on camera, but there we go. Yeah. And I thought it actually would be fun to maybe if you wanted to do like orange zest or lemon zest, just play around with it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Could always do more cinnamon. I can't say that word today.
That's okay.
So I'm actually going to put this in the fridge, and I think I'm going to save some of it for my smoothies, right?
Right.
You can use it for smoothies besides freezing it as well.
So it can be dessert, and any leftovers can go in the smoothie the next day.
Multi-purpose use, yes.
All right. I'm going to switch back to the two-screen view. There we go. So one of the things that Melanie mentioned was cinnamon. Now, what's in cinnamon, along with there's other foods that have this, is something called coumarin. If you were to Google coumarin, you are going to come up with some, what do we want to call this? Negative potential research about coumarin. And it's really important that we have this conversation because this is very typical of research, and I'm all for research where they, are learning about it and what a chemical in a food does or something like that. But when they draw conclusions from the studies of the chemicals separated from the food, then I draw the line, because that's not exactly how food works, nor do these chemicals. And what they have not really put together is the synergy of the food. So even when there's a chemical in a food that may do one thing that could be negative, there are other chemicals that counteract it. There's gut bacteria that counteract, and there's all kinds of balancing things that occur because the foods were designed for us to consume. So this is the case with coumarin. There is actually no studies of any foods with coumarin in it causing any issues for anybody. And so please be aware of that. Cinnamon is one of the best spices going. Most people love it. Apparently, it's also the #1 smell as an aphrodisiac, just in case you're interested. But I know, they do studies. They do all kinds of studies, right? This study was on what smells turned people on the most, and it was the smell of cinnamon that did it. So there you go. Anyway, I don't know what they're doing with the cinnamon, and I don't want to know. So don't be alarmed if you see that with regard to coumarin. It's not an amount that you would even get in food per se, and it's not relevant to the whole food or the spice in this case. And there's other foods with coumarin in it too. The other thing is that if you go over that food list, you'll see that there's some of the foods have more than one of the phytonutrients in them, which really makes them very good skin foods. All right, so those were our 3 recipes. And now we want to deviate a bit and talk about the skin. I mean, the sun.
Yeah, so vitamin D is a really important vitamin. You can think of it as a whole body participation. So this means that the skin's involved, the bloodstream's involved, your liver and kidneys are involved, and this needs to fully activate the vitamin D. So it starts with the skin cells and the sunlight. Do you want to talk about the sun there, Maureen?
Well, first, let's ask the audience a question.
Sure, yeah.
How many of you avoid the sun? How many of you embrace the sun, and how many of you try to fall somewhere in the middle? So embrace the sun, you know what that means. You're out there as often as you can be. I won't say you bake in the sun because I don't think any of us do that anymore, but you know what I mean. You definitely have a tan throughout the summer. And avoid the sun means you have no tan at all. And then somewhere in the middle is you somewhat tan. You go out, you get some exposure. Where do you all fall with regard to the sun? Carol's in the middle. Marianne says she embraces the sun. So far, there are only 2.
Well, I guess it depends where we live as well, right? If we have the opportunity to be exposed to more sun, or
well, we're getting a lot of in the middles and embrace the sun. We don't have anybody avoiding it, which is very good. You don't want to avoid the sun, just for the reasons that Melanie just said, right? You need, that is the D we're supposed to get. And yes, we can get some D in foods from other animals because they've gone through the process of making their D, and then it's in, say, egg yolks, for example. We can get it that way. Most of us love the sun. I don't bake in it. I'm in the middle. Where are you, Melanie?
I'm kind of in the middle. Like I try, like, yeah, it's usually just my face, chest, and arms. Because then just my skin type, I just burn really easily then, even if I wear like sunscreen or I sometimes apply oil on my body as a natural sun protection. So I try not to go in the middle of the day. It's just way too hot for me as well. I'm like, whoa, it's too hot.
It's funny because I've been going out as often as I can. If it's going to be really hot, I try to go out in the morning. And when I say morning, it's like 10 o'clock. Not that early in the morning, but it's just cool enough. And so I have, like you, I get the face, the arms, and I wear, the leggings that just come below my knees, so the bottom half of my legs. But I also will go out for about 15 minutes when it's nice out and just sit there in the sun. It's the best feeling in the world. And the reason I say this, and I don't wear any sunscreen of any kind, I have a bit of a tan. I don't know if you can tell, but not much. I used to tan a lot more when I was younger. And I mean, when I say younger, when we were kids, we ran outside all the time. We were always tan. But what I'm trying to put across here is I think that people have become afraid of the sun. Maybe not in this particular group. You all sound like you have a healthy attitude towards it. And you just cannot mistake how great that sun feels on your body, that it can't be all bad, right? So that's a positive that you all feel that way. But the other element is, okay, so you don't want to burn, you don't want to have skin damage, right? You don't want to risk skin cancer. So what can you do? And this is once again where foods come in handy. So for example, I mentioned the avocado, but a lot of these other phytochemicals that I gave you the list for also have shown benefits for protecting against UV radiation. So essentially, what you're doing is when you eat these foods, you are giving your body antioxidant protection, right? Beyond vitamins and minerals. So a lot of the phytonutrients that are found in whole foods are antioxidants as well. You're giving the nutrients to repair skin if there's damage, and you're enhancing the protective elements that the skin has, not only by the nutrients, but also by the gut as well. So remember, all of these ingredients that we used have prebiotic fiber in them. Plus I used sauerkraut. I really upped the ante there. So they have all this prebiotic fiber. They're going to help build our beneficial bacteria. And even though that's the bacteria in the gut, that does translate. There is a connection between the gut bacteria here and the bacteria on your skin, the protective bacteria on your skin. So you're enhancing all the protective mechanisms when you are feeding the body what the skin wants, which means you don't have to worry about being out in the sun. And I'm still not going to suggest somebody go out there and bake for 3 hours, but to get that warmth on the skin, to get that natural vitamin D is a really, really good thing. If people weren't going to, what would you suggest they do with regard to vitamin D in the winter, Melanie?
If they're not in the sun?
They're not in the sun, because remember, we live in Canada.
Yes. Yeah. So eat vitamin D foods, but also as well supplement if you need to. Have some drops for quite a few winter months. So yeah, probably September, October till maybe May. Supplement if you need to with vitamin D, because we don't want to get low in the vitamin D, because it affects it affects our cells and lots of our functioning of our body. So it's always important to have vitamins and minerals in our body.
Well, that's, again, we always have to take that into consideration. Where does someone live? How much sun exposure can they get? And then how do they moderate it for the seasons? We had a very gray winter this last winter. We're having a very sunny summer this year. So it kind of goes back and forth with what we're exposed to. Some places they get sun all the time, so they don't have as much of a concern. But I think it's important to understand that we can get the sun, we can enjoy it, we can get it on our skin and not necessarily have the damage that people might associate with it if we are also feeding our skin what it needs. And so I'm hoping that that is good news to many of you. I was doing it prior to reading this research because I knew it felt good and I wanted to do it. But when I read the research, I'm going, oh, I eat all those foods. So I look after my gut. I know what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to enjoy this even more. And I'm hoping that that encourages you to sort of take a bigger picture. The other element that we want to get across here is building a better recipe. So a lot of the themes we're going to talk about in these episodes over the summer are building better recipes. This was an example of how you can build a better recipe for skin. And you saw what we did. You can easily look at a list like that. You can easily put several of those ingredients that go together that you think goes together. And you can build a better recipe. And if people start to understand that concept, that it isn't just random foods, that you don't put all foods in one category, oh, they're fruits, oh, they're vegetables, just get some, that being a little more strategic might help their health condition. And it doesn't mean you're not going to do other things for the health condition. It means you're going to build a better foundation for the other things to help with whatever health condition a person may have. So we were talking about skin, but we could apply this to other topics as well. So Melanie, is there anything else you would like to add? And in the meantime, while before she answers, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. So Melanie.
Yes, I wanted to talk about, it's important to also think about topically what we put on our skin. So from the body care products to, like the shampoo and conditioner we use, those could have irritants in them, and there could be chemicals and toxins. And I recommend a website to go to, the Environmental Working Group. It's ewg.org/skindi. And there you can look up different products or brands in their database. And if the product or brand isn't there, then you can always do, you can list the ingredients. You can look up the ingredients. So it shows you if it's an irritant, if it's a toxin. So there's different levels and numbers and scales. So basically you'd want to ideally find something cleaner and natural. The skin's our largest organ and we just absorb everything. And you might actually notice a difference if you're kind of not using certain products anymore. You might notice differences in your skin health and overall health. I know for myself, I'm sensitive to certain fragrances that aren't natural and products that are just irritants. So it's really cool that like over the years, once I've changed doing things, I'm like, oh, I feel better. And also on that website, if you go to the main page, ewg.org, they also have different tips and guides. They also have a guide on pesticides and foods. So a list of suggesting maybe buying organic foods for certain produce. It's just a really great resource. I highly recommend it.
I think that's a very important thing to bring up, Melanie, because we have sebaceous glands in our skin and they absorb anything that's fat soluble, and toxins generally are fat soluble. So chemicals are generally fat soluble, which again, and they put them in there because they're trying to get them to stick to the skin in the first place. If they were water soluble, they would not stay on the skin very long. As soon as we sweat, they'd be, diluted. So that's an important piece to note that, you may be doing this topically for a skin issue or a cosmetic issue, but you may also be having something that is absorbed into your body that you might not like. And it's not like there's that they're so toxic that, you know, you're going to see an immediate effect unless you're highly sensitive. What it means is that it could be a cumulative effect because you can use it day after day, year after year after year. And this is the problem with chemicals, is that they've never studied the cumulative effect, especially when we absorb them into the body like that. We do have a mechanism through the gut that can help us eliminate certain chemicals that are deemed harmful. Our gut bacteria, they're not 100% sure what it does, but they've already discussed certain bacteria that can get rid of mercury and bisphenol A and things like that. So we don't have the whole picture yet, but there's definitely something that can be done here. But when you put it directly on the skin, it's going right into the body. So that's just something to think about as well. So Carol,
I did actually, can I mention something else?
Sure.
I did want to mention, if people are into like do it yourself, I've actually made homemade scrubs, like out of honey or sugar and salt, like for your face or your body, as well as a temporary relief. You can use cucumber slices on your skin. I had a essential oil the other day, and I was like, oh gosh, my skin's burning. So the cucumber worked. And aloe vera gel as well. Like if you have a cut, you can use that on your skin. So there's many other ways of doing things than what's in the store. I'm like, I'm going to go to the kitchen and figure out what to use. So
cucumbers are great. I can't say enough about cucumbers and their hydrating abilities, you know, same with lettuce and things like that. But rubbing cucumber on your skin feels amazing. You know, I used to see those movies where people put their cucumbers over their eyes when they're in the spa. I thought that's really strange. And then I did it. Feels wonderful. So Linda wanted to know the website. I typed in the chat EWG Environmental Working Group, but there's a specific section. What's the specific section?
Skin deep.
Skin deep?
Skin deep.
Skin.
Yeah, so it's ewg.org/skin deep.
Okay. So hopefully you got that, Linda. All right. And Carol is asking, should one use a sunscreen? Now there's a controversial question.
Yeah, my opinion on that. It's really up to you. Again, like we were saying before about, are you exposed to the sun a lot? Like, what's your take on going out in the sun? Maybe, yeah, if you're exposed to the sun a lot throughout the day, you might want to use the sunscreen. I would say check out ewg.org for the
so look for
recommendations.
Yeah. You can also, if you go to your local health food store, if they have a good selection, usually they can tell you things too as well. They do get training on those products, so they might have some good suggestions that are local to you. It's up to you. I personally don't wear one. I'm not out that much. I'm not in the sun often enough that I would ever worry about it. Would I consider it if somebody invited me on their yacht? I don't know anybody who has a yacht, but just let's say somebody invited me out for the day on their yacht. Would I wear a sunscreen? Probably. I'd wear a hat. You know, I don't want to have to cover up. I don't want to be one of those, you know, people who puts like the netting all over them and all that stuff. That's not comfortable either. So, but if I knew I was not going to be able to control the amount of sun that I was in, I might consider it. But for everyday use, for going to the store, for going for walks, for going out in the backyard, I don't. So it is an individual choice. Some people are more sensitive, some people burn more easily. That's a consideration too. And so if you have very sensitive skin, you may want to do that, but just find a cleaner sunscreen and go to the health food store or check out the website, as Melanie said. Luana says, I spend time out in the sun under 1 hour without sunscreen. Any more than that, and I would wear sunscreen. I think that's very reasonable, Luana. I know I don't tan like I used to because I haven't done tanning for years and years and years. And so I'm aware of that. I'm aware also, I have friends who they blink twice outside and they have a dark tan. It's because they've tanned for years. It's like their skin knows, okay, it's time now. And it takes very little for them to tan. So I do think there is an adjustment that the body makes based on the amount of exposure you get. But I also know a gentleman who got skin cancer, and he's had it like 3 or 4 times. They just keep removing the melanomas. But he got it he plays golf all the time, and he got it on his leg between where his shorts end and his socks start. Because that was really the only part of him that was overly exposed to the sun year after year after year. So again, I don't think anyone would think of that, right? I don't think they think, well, maybe I should put sunscreen if I'm out on the golf course all the time. And, from the knees, from the mid leg down to the knee, like people don't think like that. Again, it's his sensitivity. He would not have been a good eater. He would not have had a healthy diet. He was overweight. There's a lot of other things that were probably at play. It's hard to say, and everybody's different, and they have a different genetic predisposition to different things. So I don't think we could ever say, don't wear a sunscreen. I don't think we could say, always wear a sunscreen. I think we have to let the individual figure out what's best for them and have the cleanest sunscreen should they need it. I think in general, people don't need it if all they're doing is their daily business, right? Just going in and out of the house, to the store, going for a walk or whatever. Pamela says, oh, this is a very good point. Oh, wait, sorry, I skipped one here. Marianne says, I wear a clean moisturizing cream if I were out for a long time. Doesn't happen often. And Pamela says, some medications cause sensitivity to the sun. That is a very good point. So if someone is on medication, they should look it up to see if it does increase sensitivity to the skin. And that's an easy thing to do. You just Google the name of the drug and look for side effects, and it'll come up. You can find multiple good sites that talk about the side effects and the pros and cons of any medication. And if that were the case, I think that person should definitely wear some type of sunscreen, because again, even if you don't get skin cancer from it, just burning the skin makes it damaged, wrinkled, you age faster. You just don't want it. You don't need to do that. The skin can regenerate itself as long as you give it what it needs from a nutritional perspective, and you don't ask too much of it so that it has the time to regenerate and repair because you haven't overexposed it. Would you like to add anything to that, Melanie?
No. You summed it up beautifully.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I'm surprised we got through this so easily and quickly, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes. If anybody has any other questions, please type them in the chat. In the meantime, I'll tell you about next week's episode, which is going to be called Aging the Mediterranean Way with Daria Howell. So we're going to be talking about the Mediterranean diet, which has gotten a lot of buzz lately. A lot of the foods that we talked about tonight will come up again because they happen to be quite prevalent in the Mediterranean diet. But I have a study that was done on gut health and the Mediterranean diet with live human beings, and it's quite fascinating. So we'll be talking about that, and then, are we getting the real Mediterranean diet when they talk about it, or is it the faux Mediterranean diet? We're just going to explore all aspects of it so that we can understand this particular diet and why it's getting so much buzz right now. And so tune in next week for that. And I don't see any more questions. Is there anything else you would like to say, Melanie? Tell them about your free, she's got a nice little free ebook if you want to download it by going to the page in the description. You just take that URL and go to that page, you'll find it. So tell us a little bit about the lead magnet.
Yeah, so the free guide is basically a resource of different vitamins and minerals and EFAs. So some of the stuff we're talking about tonight, but it basically lists different foods that are nourishing for the skin. So yeah, check that out. And if you have any questions, even at like the replay, you can comment here in the video. Yeah, just remember every little bit helps to nourish your skin from the inside out.
And you can find Melanie when you click on the recipes on the page that is in the description. It'll take you right to her website, and you can find her contact information there. Judy Patry just had one comment about, I'm assuming this is with regard to the medications causing sensitivity. She is saying, so do some citrus essential oils within 24 hours of use. So I don't know if any of you are applying essential oils directly to your skin or even diluted. I'm assuming it still happens when you dilute it as well. But that might be something to think about in case that is something that you do. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending. And I hope this was beneficial. Hope you make some of the recipes. And we'll see you hopefully next week. Have a great week.